First of all, I want to thank God this morning for this another day that He has allowed us to be a part of. We want to say good morning to all of you that may be listening in. We're blessed and we're honored to have the privilege of entering into your homes again today, praying and trusting that we are having a great day and that the Lord will continue to bless our lives as we go through this day. We thank God for this uh, another great celebration of giving some tributes to our fathers, and not just to our fathers, but to our mothers, our sons, and our daughters as well. May God continue to bless each of us, is our prayers. We'd like to speak with you today, hopefully brief, from the book of Psalms. Psalms number 24 and verse number 5 have we selected for our text for the message. And in our King James Version, it reads thus: He shall receive the blessings from the Lord and righteousness from the God of his salvation. Let me read that again. He shall receive the blessings from the Lord and righteousness from the God of his salvation. We want to use for our thought for today, we want to talk about a set of 4 guidelines from the children's father. A set of 4 guidelines from the children's father. In 1910, there was a woman that lived in the state of Washington who was called by the name of Mrs. John Bruce Dodd. That's D-O-E-D. Miss Dodd seemingly had a dream back in 1910. She had a dream that a Father's Day would be recognized. I don't know if she considered that since there was a Mother's Day, then there should and ought to be a Father's Day. That dream that Mrs. Dodd had in 19 and 10, it seemed to have become a reality as the years passed on. For the thought or the idea spread throughout the United States as well as Canada that a committee would be formed and that this committee would work toward the establishing of a uh, annual National Father's Day observance. Although it took some perhaps 26 or more years before it was so past, but her dream uh, did end up being realized and became a reality. We thank God for uh, Mrs. Bruce for uh, dreaming such dream. In this life, my brotherings and my sisters, we have to dream that we can and that we will, by the help of God, move beyond uh, the state in life that we are presently living in. I heard the Lord said in his word one day that the old men would have dreams, but the younger men would have vision. So I'm challenging not only young men and old men, but wherever there is life, I'm challenging us to keep on having visions and keep on the dreaming dream. We thank God again for fathers, and I know that it is vital as we live here in this life for us to have guidelines. And I'm sure that most of us have set guidelines at some point in our lives in uh, guiding the minds of our sons and our daughters and trying to rear them up to live respectful lives during their life stay here in this troubled world. Although there were times when uh, parents would set uh, guidelines for their children, but because of many of the laws that have been passed, I think many of the children today feel that they uh, have been put in a position that they can pass guidelines for their parents. But I want the young people to know that there is an important in parents setting guidelines for their children. It is all for their good. Many times when we face the peer pressure of life, so often it leads us to involving ourselves in many ways of life that is detrimental to our future. So when our parents are instructing us, let's accept it for the good that they feel and for the love that we feel that our mothers and our fathers have for their children. Let me look at the words of our text today in Psalms 24 and 5. We're looking at a young man who was called by the name of David, who this Psalm number 24 has been accredited to. And he's saying that he shall receive the blessing from the Lord. And not only shall he receive blessings from the Lord, but he shall receive righteousness from the God of his salvation. Everybody, I feel, already received blessing and righteousness from the God of our salvation. But David here is not just talking about the blessings of this life, but he is talking about the blessing and the goodness of God in the life that will come. So David is telling us that there are some guidelines that God will give us, but there are certain criteria that we must meet in order to be able to receive these special blessings that come from the Lord. And he tells us of what these four guidelines are. And before we give the guidelines and the requests that God demandeth of us, let us look at the beginning of Psalm number 24 and follow it on down. David started writing this 24th Psalm by saying that the earth belonged to the Lord. And not only does the earth belong to the Lord, but the fullness that is in the earth. He said the world and they that belong in the earth, that all of it belong to God. He tells us in verse number 2 that God found it, that he found the earth upon the seas, and he established it upon the flood. But then he asked the question in verse number 3, and he asked, who shall ascend into the hill of the Lord? Or who shall be able to stand in his holy place? And then David pointed out that we got to have clean hands, and we've got to have a pure heart, and we cannot lift up our soul unto vanity, Lord, and neither can we swear deceitfully. These are the ones, and all these are four of the guidelines that we're going to have to resort to in order to receive the blessings from the Lord and righteousness from the God of his salvation. And then I heard David when he said that this is the generation of them that will seek the Lord, that seek thy face, O Jacob. It seemed like, Lord, that David is talking to the house of Israel, but in as much as it applied to Israel, Lord, it also applies to men, women, boys, and girls today. So then I heard Lord David when he tells the whole wide world to lift up your head, O ye gates, and be ye lifted up, Lord, ye everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. And David asked the question and said, who, Lord, is this King of glory? Well, the Lord strong. Well, the Lord who is a mighty God. Well, the Lord who is mighty in the wind. He is mighty in the rain. Lord, he is a mighty God in the time of a battle. God is a mighty God when there is confusion on every hand. And I'm challenging men everywhere to lift up our eyes unto the hills from whence cometh our help, because all of our help is in the Lord. So lift up your heads, O ye gates, and be ye lifted up, ye everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. We need him to come in our lives. We need our Father to hold our weak and our trembling hand. We need our Father to be our guide. We need him to be our protector. Well, I'm glad about it today that one day they led him up Calvary Hill and they nailed his hands to the old rugged cross. They put him in a grave where he stayed there for 3 long days. But early on the first day of the week, he got up out of the grave. So he is a mighty God over the grave. He is a mighty God over death. He can speak a word and men will live. He can speak a word and men will lay down and die. So let us follow God's guideline. Tell the Lord, help me, Lord, to be in your will, because I want to do your blessed will. But we know that we got to keep your guideline in order for us to be able to stand in that holy New Jerusalem that John talked about. He saw coming down from God out of heaven as a bride adorned for her husband. So hold on, church, to God's unchanging hand. He brought us from a mighty long way, but I'm here to tell you today that he didn't bring us this far to leave us alone. Trusting that we have said something in our message today that will encourage us, give us the determination to keep on trusting in his holy divine word. We thank God we have got to have a clean heart. We got to have a pure mind in order to walk in this narrow way. We got to have a pure heart. Got to have a clean hand if we want to walk this narrow way, my Lord. We got to have clean hand and a pure heart if we want to walk this narrow way. I want to say that again. We got to have a clean hand. Got to have a pure heart if we want to walk this narrow way, my Lord. We got to have clean hand and a pure heart if we want to walk this narrow way. Well, I heard the voice of Jesus say, shall come unto me and rest, my Lord. Lay down thy weary one, lay thy head upon my breast. Oh, we got to have clean hands. We got to have a pure heart if we want to walk this narrow way, my Lord. We got to have clean hands and a pure heart if we want to walk this narrow way. There is a choice that we all have to keep. There is a God to glorify, my Lord, who